Hey guys, Michael here. I had something unusual happen to me here today. So I want to preface this very brief video, and I'll promise to make this as short and sweet as possible. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll make it even shorter and sweeter by saying I have signed the petition that Legend of Total War endorses here to encourage CA to make a remaster version of Medieval 2. And I would also encourage you guys, if it is something that you think you would like, I encourage you to go out and sign the petition as well. It is about 5 seconds worth of work to sign the petition, and I did want to add my voice for whatever little that is worth to the chorus of people who are calling for this. But of course, if it's not something that interests you, or if you don't agree with my points or Legend's points, obviously don't do it. Make up your own mind. But anyway, so that's the short and sweet of it. But the broader context here is that I had something unusual happen to me this morning, which is, like I said, I need to make something very clear up front. I have said many times before that I disagree with Legend of Total War on basically the right way to play. I shouldn't say the right way to play. How we each go about playing the Warhammer 3 and other Total War games for that matter. Whereas, he focuses very much on the cheese, and he's obviously the best player that I've ever seen play the game, but has no point or has no problem with abusing the AI or exploiting mechanics or anything like that. That's not really the way that I like to play. And so, our play styles very much deviate from one another. And also, just the things that we look for in a game probably deviate from each other as well. Having said that, I hope that I've also made it very clear that I don't think there's any right or wrong way to play a game. Everybody should play the game the way that, if they paid their money, play it however you want to play it to get the most enjoyment out of it. But having said all that, I just want to make it very clear up front that I have a ton of respect for Legend, even though I have often basically just come right out and said he plays a game differently than I do. I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. Okay. So because of all that, though, I haven't watched a Legend video in ages. I shouldn't. I think I've watched like maybe 2 in the last year, and both of those were because people referenced something that made me go out and specifically look for them. But I don't usually get Legend of Total War videos in my recommended list when I log onto YouTube because, like I said, it's not that I don't find them interesting. It's because that there's a limited amount of time in the day, and again, it's not really the way that I tend to play Total War. So I just haven't watched his videos for a long time, so I don't usually get them recommended. Well, anyway, fast forward to today, I log in, and sure enough, I've got a video recommended to me from Legend of Total War. And it's not this one, by the way. It is apparently there is drama popping up between Legend and Pixelated Apollo. Pixelated Apollo is not someone that I follow. I've heard of him. I may have watched 1 or 2 of his videos throughout the years. I don't have a ton to say about that drama between the two of them. I don't know either one of them. Both of them are, way, 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 way larger than my YouTube channel is. Legends, 100 times larger than my channel, and Pixelated Apollo, I guess, is 200 times larger than my channel. So neither one of them really needs me to say anything for or against them, but my 2 cents worth for, whatever it's worth. I didn't watch very much of Legend's video. I will get into just a moment here what I did get out of his video, but I watched enough of it to see the drama going on, but I didn't watch all of it because my initial reaction right away was, well, of course Legend is not a shill for CA. It's an absurd thing to even think. So, yeah, I don't have any doubt in at all in my mind as to whether or not Legend could possibly be a shill. He's one of the most honest YouTubers that I can think of related to this particular game in terms of really calling out the problems with the Warhammer Total War games, even though it might not be always in his best interest to do so. So Again, my 2 cents worth is I think it's a silly thing to even presume or imply that he could possibly be a shill. But like I said, I can't really speak into any more detail on the drama than that much because it's frankly not all that interesting to me. I think it's I feel bad for him that he feels like he's got to defend himself. So I didn't go back and watch Pixelated Apollo's video. I trust Legend, having made the judgment that it was his time to intervene and to make his own videos about it. But again, I think it's a little bit sad that those sorts of things happen, but I also understand people are people. This is what happens. And YouTubers in particular, even though I'm a tiny little channel, I understand the drive to try to get views, and I have a feeling that stirring up drama is one way to do it. Again, I don't want to really presume that that's why this drama came up, but I do know that can be a factor, at least in some people's decisions about what kind of videos they want to make. Anyway, I'm hoping that I will never have to get involved in drama like that, and I probably shouldn't because I can't imagine ever being anywhere near as large as those guys are. Okay, anyway, enough said about all that. So the reason I even bring all that up is because, yeah, it was as a result of watching just a few minutes of that drama video that he mentions that he had made a video about please making Medieval 2 Remastered. And I thought, well, that is something that is right up my alley. So that brought me over to this video. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to play about a minute of this video and talk a little bit about the points that he makes here. But yeah, this leads me to the second point that I want to make to all of you all, which is that if ever something like this comes up, because you probably all assume that I watch Legends videos, but I don't generally. So I didn't even know that this had popped up. If something like this pops up, feel free to let me know about it because I would love. This is exactly the kind of thing I would love to chime in on and show my support for. So again, let me go ahead and play a minute here of Legends video, and then I'm just going to comment on it really quickly.
Legend of Total War here, and today I want to talk to you guys about Medieval 2 Total War and why I think now is the best time for us to request through Creative Assembly and Feral Interactive to make Medieval 2 Remastered. This is something that I would really like to see, something that I'd be willing to pay for to play it, and why I think is actually a good idea for them to go ahead with it from a business perspective. So in this video, what I want to do is talk about what I'd like to see in Medieval 2 Remastered, the things I'd like them to sort of fix up, but also talk about why I think it's a good business idea for Creative Assembly. Because if you're going to convince Creative Assembly, it's the only way to go about it, is convince them that they're going to make money by making this. It's going to be worth their time, and that's going to be good for their brand, increase the brand prestige. Because at the moment, Total War has a little bit of a brand problem. Total War is not trending. The last few titles that Creative Assembly have released have had a few issues with them, various different things. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically Total War is not reaching, at least it doesn't seem like, it's not reaching much of a new audience, not compared to what it used to, and it's sort of fizzling off a little bit, to a degree. And I think that capitalizing on nostalgia can work really well, and we've seen that work really well this week. So what I want to do is actually draw a parallel between Medieval 2 and Oblivion. And what happened this week? Well, Oblivion's remaster came out. So it came out 23rd of April, today's the 28th of April.
Okay, I think you all get the point. I think that's enough of it. And I think he makes a very good point here, both with respect to basically just overall encouraging people to sign the petition. Incidentally, there is a link in his video here. I will obviously link his video to this one, and in his video he has the link to the petition. It doesn't have as many signatures as he was hoping to really send the message to CA, so I will go ahead and take a second again to encourage you. If Medieval 2 is something that you would like to see, either to play for yourself or even see me cover it on this channel, please consider signing that petition. If it's not something you'd like to see, obviously don't do it. You have your own free will when it comes to it. But anyway, yeah, I think he makes a good point with respect to, I think it would be a good idea. I think he makes a good point with respect to basically having to frame this as a business decision because, that is, for better or worse, the way the world works, particularly in, let's just characterize them as Western countries, as capitalist economies. We no longer have a command economy where the government makes decisions and tells companies exactly what to produce. Hopefully, we won't ever get to that again, but I don't want to go off down that rabbit hole of what's the best political and economic systems. I have very, very particular opinions on all that. But anyway, like I said, rabbit hole. Michael will avoid talking about that. But yeah, this is how the world works. Right now, corporations are probably the dominant force in the world in many, many respects. And it is the almighty dollar, or insert your own currency in there, but more often than not the dollar, that does make the decisions for them. So it's unfortunate that we have to frame everything that way. It's just the way the world works. And so I like the fact that he is trying to frame it as why not only would we all like to see Medieval 2, but also, or remaster of it, but also, why it is in their best interest. I do think that there is an additional element here, which is basically everything is opportunity cost. So it not only needs to be a business venture that would make money for them, they need to believe that it would make more money for them than something else would if they devoted those same resources over to something else. I think that argument is a little bit difficult for us in our position to make, but it is something that I think could logically be made. It does seem like it would require less effort to do a remastered version of Medieval 2 compared to, say, making a Medieval 3. Now, I will say right off the bat, I'd love to see a Medieval 3. But if it means far, far fewer resources, it means a shorter amount of time to make, for maybe, better bang for your buck, so to speak, from CA's perspective, then I would certainly be very happy with a Medieval 2 remastered. A little bit of a personal context here. The very first Total War game that I ever played, and in fact, to this day, other than Warhammer, the Total War game that I have played the most is not Medieval 2, it's Medieval 1, the original Medieval Total War game. That one, I was pretty young relatively young. I don't want to date myself too badly here, but I skew on the older side of gamers who have YouTube channels, that's for sure. Anyway, so yeah, I played the heck out of Medieval Total War when it came out, and then I remember when Rome came out, and it was sort of I don't want to say it was a revolutionary step forward, but there were definitely some iterative improvements on Medieval when that came out. I loved Rome when it came out, but I never played it as much as I did the original Medieval. And then when Medieval 2 came out, I really liked it. I played it for a fair amount, but I was also at a time in my life when I was working a whole lot more and just didn't have the time to put into it. So basically, other than Warhammer, the Total War game that I've played more than any other is the original Medieval. So I have very much a nostalgia for the Medieval franchise. I also I studied medieval history in college. I actually have a minor in history with a specialization in medieval history, and then along with my I also have a postgraduate degree in international relations, which is very heavily skewed towards history as well. Anyway, all that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I just wanted to basically throw my own personal context in, and then all that leads me to my final point, which is I have made the comment before that I'm a little bit concerned that Warhammer Total War has ruined historical Total War. And I know that's a controversial statement, and I'm not saying it definitively. I'm sort of more asking the question, or maybe a better way to put it would be to say, I think it has ruined it for some people, but not for everyone. I know that there are plenty of people out there who really prefer the historical titles over Warhammer Fantasy. I don't see anything wrong with that. Personally, I love both of them. I wish I had more time in my day to go back and play some of the historical titles more. I really, really love Rome 2, particularly with the DEI, Divide et Impera mod, which is just you know, I can't say enough good things about that particular mod. I would love to spend more time with Pharaoh Total War. However, the reason why I've said that it could be that Warhammer, in particular, and maybe more broadly, fantasy Total War, has ruined the historical titles is just because we see the amount of variety, the amount of diversity, the amount of replayability that happens in a fantasy environment, a fantasy world that you really can't do in a historical title. As much as I love medieval, you know, there's just not that much of a difference in the roster when it comes down to it when you compare the different rosters of the different factions. There are subtle changes. Don't get me wrong. There's people, I think the more appreciation you have for the differences between civilizations throughout history, the more you can kind of get into the differences between rosters. But overall, there is just no comparing Rome versus Carthage, or let's say Denmark versus the Holy Roman Empire, compared to, say, the difference between, I don't know, let's say Grombrindal and Kazrak of the Beastmen, or Ikitclaw of the Skaven. You know, there's just a wider range of diversity when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy. So I don't want to by any means suggest that people should be turned off to historical. I myself really like going back and playing the historical when I have time to, and I wish I had more time for it. But I do worry that CA may have thought about this as well, which is the wider audience is not going to find historical titles as appealing as the fantasy titles. And it could very well be that Medieval 2 Remastered would be a very good way for them to find out. That was a really popular game, and if they do a remastered version and it does the same thing that Oblivion here did for whatchamacallit, for Bethesda, then I think that would be a really good sign. And if it doesn't do the same, I think it would be a good way for CA to find out what kind of appetite there is for historical titles, without necessarily devoting all of the resources that it would take to building a brand new one from scratch. So that's kind of my 2 cents on this whole topic. I would love to see it. I think that there's multiple ways that CA could look at it as being in their best interest as well. But I am certainly also not without my concerns, and I do absolutely understand with where Legend is coming from in terms of needing to frame this discussion from the standpoint of a business decision for CA, because honestly, no game company, I know CA has done some less than stellar things in the last couple of years, kind of taken a cavalier attitude towards their audience, and several times has had to try to make up for it. I'm not defending CA in any respect, but I will say they're not really that much different than any other game company, or quite frankly, any other corporation out there for that matter. Corporations don't make decisions by and large because of what they think is in the best interest of their customers or even their stakeholders, other than their stakeholders do like it when the company makes the most money. So that's just the way the world works. We just have to be mature about it and see these types of development decisions as to what games get developed and which ones don't through that particular lens. Okay, I've rambled on long enough. I would like to know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm going to assume that most of you have already seen this video, so I'm not going to play any more of it. I suspect most people who watch my channel also watch Legend of Total War, but I do know that there are some of you who have commented and say that you really don't, because, again, you're kind of in the same boat I'm in, which is that, it's not really your preferred play style or way to best enjoy the game. But again, none of this is intended in any way to try to be a detraction from Legend, who I do think is really awesome and an extremely valuable resource for the community. And I have certainly personally learned an awful lot from him, both in terms of really good ways to play, but also things that I see that are really that don't appeal to me. But anyway, okay, enough said. Michael, you're rambling. I'll go ahead and end it there. Thanks everybody so much for watching and listening. I will see you all in the next video.